But Nicole, I think it's time to get to some power rankings for this week presented by Citi. And after last week and some of the chaos and destruction that went on in college football, they destroyed a lot of things. Yeah. We decided it might actually be a really good time to take a look at the best 2-loss teams in college football. And it's a weird thing to do, right? People are like, why are you talking about? Well, obviously these teams have the capability of winning big games, but it's a different perspective on the sport. Like some of the teams that are really the meat of the conference that are a tough out. So go ahead and let us know what you got.
Yeah, so I've got Kentucky at number 1. You know, obviously we've seen them push Georgia. We saw them take down Ole Miss, and those are good teams in the SEC. And they're just a hard out. And that South Carolina game, the further we get removed from it, feels flukier and flukier. Don't think that they would have struggled this much offensively if they played them today. Got Washington in there at number 2 after the big win over Michigan. They rushed the field, but that's a team that could easily be 6-0, right? We talked a lot about this in our pregame the other day because, you know, it's been miscues. It's been a bad fourth down play. They're right there against everyone they played. Got to put Vanderbilt here at number 3, 3-2 on the season. They also should have beat Mizzou. Don't know how they lost to Georgia State. So they're having but this is a good team. Like, this is a genuinely good team. They uprooted a bunch of New Mexico State. Diego Pavia is awesome. We love watching him. He is a college football, like, folk hero already. But that's a really good team. Like, that was not a fluke the way that they beat Alabama. I got Iowa in here and Louisville in here as well, because I think people have kind of forgotten a little bit about them, or they watch Ohio State do what they did to Iowa. I mean, that's what Ohio State's going to do to teams in there with the talent that they have. And Louisville's on a 2-game losing streak here. Should have probably beat SMU. Really a lot of messy and mistakes against Notre Dame. But, like, to me, this is the reason I wanted to do 2-loss teams, Joshua, is, like, in the 12-team playoff world, 2-loss teams are going to be in this at the end of it. And, like, yeah, there's going to be some flaws on these resumes. They're not going to be perfect teams. But these are some teams that could surprise people or already have surprised people in their conference play.
Yeah, I think the good point about at the end of the year that 2-loss teams are going to be involved, it's something we should talk about. And then again, I think just from some of the conference races, because the automatic bids are decided by who wins the conferences. Like, right. These are the games that are the tough outs. These are the games that teams might overlook on the schedule because of the record. But these teams can really compete and they can hang tough, and potentially, we've seen, they can pull off upsets. And so I do think we need to, like, highlight how they're playing. Now, for Kentucky, I agree with you. The biggest thing for me is their identity as a program. They've kind of been that team that is built on having good defense. Offense might not be great, but, like, they're super tough. They know how to drag you out into deep waters. They make you try to swim back. I love that about them. Washington, as long as they're not hurting themselves, they're phenomenal. And Will Rogers has been really good. And he made some great plays against Michigan. Yeah. Jed Fish and his staff are really good. And as they're able to recruit and as they're able to develop that program, I think they're going to be sitting at the top of the Big Ten here in not too long. We've talked all about Vanderbilt and Diego Pavia and everything about them. It's a good football team. This is not the old Vanderbilt. They're not the doormat of the conference anymore. Iowa's so interesting to me because offensively they are a little bit better. They're not as good on defense. And so it's a little bit of a different way. But once again, identities of programs, they fit. And then for Louisville, I love Shuck. Tyler Shuck is like a gunslinger type of guy that I like. I know Jeff Brom likes having him. But you talk about making mistakes, very similar to Washington. Like, I think that they went out and they lost 2 games more than the other team necessarily won them. And, you know, they're going to have to figure out a way to not do that. But, like, still, very talented team, can give you a lot of trouble. Got to get better on defense, but I think they can come along.